Holy mackerel, is Bitcoin entering the third wave after beginning this break at the beginning of the year? Are we now seeing the beginning of a leg up, or in fact are we not, and are going to visit the targets that we've been talking about for the past few weeks? Is Bitcoin going to be heading down potentially that $8,077, potentially even $7,500 level? Or again, is Bitcoin bracing to begin this uptrend? We already have a few confirmed touches on these smaller time frames. These smaller time frames are not incredibly accurate, but we do have to look at this on the charts. As well, did Bitcoin get rejected at the key area that it was supposed to be testing, potentially even breaking above? And if this pattern doesn't play out, is there a more sinister pattern at play on these charts? Will Bitcoin be revisiting the bottom of this trend line? Wow, we have so much to take a look at. Have no fear, Daddy's here. We are in the clear. Let's do this. Wow, what's going on? My munchers, my crunchers, and my late evening lunchers. We have so much to delve into in this episode. We want to start here actually with Twitter, as we just tweeted this out. And honestly, within about 5 minutes after tweeting this out, we broke down. Okay, we have a lot to look at in regards to this, because usually ascending triangles are a bullish pattern, guys, but it is a game of statistics, which is why I did not put an arrow one way or the other on this chart. We actually broke down to the exact target of what this ascending triangle would break out to, and we'll get into more detail and show you that on these charts. But in fact, yes, it was a break down to the bottom of this channel, and as we're recording this video, it's currently sitting right at the bottom of this channel. So this is absolutely crucial. So many exciting things to talk about in regards to that, guys. But guys, wow, we do have a few announcements before we really dive into the content. If you guys want to win a ledger, all you have to do is leave a comment below, and if you're new, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on the dings, and let's do this. As well, guys, awesome. As of yesterday, we added over 30 more minutes of content to this course. Every week, we're going to be adding a ton of new content, and in fact, within the next few days, we're going to be adding more to this as well, guys. So if you are new and you want 50% off, goo gurt, this will not last forever. So let's start off with this beautiful pattern that we have here. So is Bitcoin potentially forming a new trend? Okay, now we can actually zoom out and kind of give you guys a little picture of this. This would be I talk about the third trend. So this will be quick, okay? This is the first trend, okay? This is the first. We had about a month and a half of upward momentum, and then you can see here pretty much an entire month of downside. Now, are we entering potentially a third wave? Now, I'm not saying this yet. This is a possibility, but we do have other things we want to talk about. If you guys have been following the channel over the past 2 weeks, you know we've been talking about much more downside as a possibility here. But I do just want to illustrate, when I'm talking about the third wave, when I'm talking about entering like a third phase, this is what I'm referring to. This would be 1, this would be 2, and this might look similar to some people, like to Elliott waves. I would not consider this that. I'm not really a big believer in Elliott waves, but I do think obviously the market moves in a pattern similar to what an Elliott wave would do anyway. When there's pumps, there's dumps. It goes in cycles. It goes up for a lot, and then it goes down for a lot. And we can honestly just see that pretty much on any time frame, right? You see it goes in waves, basically. I think the whole premise of Elliott waves, for the most part, kind of makes sense, but again, I'm not a big believer in just using that. What we do see is that as of the breakout at the very beginning of this month, so only about 5 or 6 days ago, breaking out of this falling wedge, we have potentially entered this new channel. And the reason I say potentially is because we have multiple touches, okay? We have a touch here, then we have a touch here, we have a touch here, and then a touch here. And actually, as of the last 30 minutes, we have a touch here. So that's 5 total touches, 3 on one side, 2 on the other. So this pattern actually could break out sooner than later, because that's usually the amount of touches you get before you break out of a pattern. Now this could be breaking to the downside. If we don't hold here, you did see it actually did bounce. Let's actually go to the 30 minutes so you can see this a little bit. Right here, came all the way down, bounced, and now currently it's closing. It opened this 30-minute candle pretty much right here, so it doesn't necessarily know if it wants to continue going there. Honestly, let's take a look at this. So the ascending triangle, they usually do break up, but you can see here, if it would break down, the target is exactly pretty much the height of what the entire triangle is. And as you can see here, this is exactly the case. So you can see this is the height of it right here. Let me draw that. And then the breakout was literally the exact height of it as well. So that was a perfect breakout to the downside. Again, usually it would want to break to the upside, but this broke to the downside. Now, regardless of this triangle that we have drawn in here, because this pattern's kind of done, don't really want to look at this anymore, but I'm just going to keep it on there because it kind of looks nice. Honestly, this is the most important thing, okay? We talk about like the heart lines of these upward trends, upward channels. Channels are so important, I think. And this is kind of like the very important level. And again, the reason I think this is so important, when you have a channel, there's usually a lot of friction and a lot of action that goes on right in the center of it. okay? And I can illustrate this for you here. So right here, we found support here 4 days. We broke below it, and you can see this was resistance 4 days. Okay, we broke above it, took a few days, but then when we did, we actually moonshot up to the top of this channel. And then you can see ever since March 5th, we have been trading with this as the bottom, okay? This also makes up the bottom of this ascending channel, but again, this is also the heart line of this channel here. So again, you can see this area has been absolutely crucial, even more so you could say than the top and bottom of this channel, okay? The heart line is always usually very important when it comes to support and resistance, and so far, again, it's been playing a key role. And again, you notice as well, when it was not able to hold and it was consolidating in this pattern, it just broke down to the bottom of this channel. So again, beautiful to see. At this point, though, I would like to say that this pattern is potentially over at this point, as we've had multiple touches on the top and the bottom, so I wouldn't be surprised to actually see us break down out of this. But I would also equally not be surprised to see this pattern continue. If this is a bullish move up, then this pattern would have to continue, okay? We would most likely have to come up here and we'd find a lot of resistance again right around that $9,200 level, which we were not able to break. And if we did break that, definitely think going up to 94, 9,500 would be in the cards if that were to be the case. But again, as this video is being recorded, you see there's a lot of pressure right here, and it looks like this actually wants to get pushed down, potentially down to this $8,800 level. And for other targets, we'll have to look on other time frames and other charts here as well. So again, if we get a push down, I think the 88, 8,700 would be crucial. We have the 200-day moving average here, this yellow line. This would be super important if Bitcoin is going to get pushed down right here. Okay, you see, we did not quite come up to our target of 92 that we've been talking about for 2 weeks now. This has still not been really even touched at. You can see we didn't even come necessarily up to this $92.50 level just yet. In fact, the 21 is actually coming down here, so it's actually lower than the 50-day moving average was. So again, I think that'll play a role here. Things are really heating up in regards to this, and this will be an interesting pattern if we see something like this play out. Okay, so say we came all the way up here, and let's say we get pushed back down again, maybe to like that 82, or we actually go all the way down and complete this shoulder here like that, or even complete this at 8,200. Because again, guys, we still have not come down to our target of the 82 when we're talking about downside. This is what our target was for this cup and handle, and just a nice, really good downside target in general, and we still never came down to that. We came down to about 84. Okay, we came down to 84. We never came down to that 8,200 what we were talking about. So could we potentially get a push back down to here? Absolutely. And again, if all that momentum really did switch like that, I could see us easily maybe even going back below 8,000 in the short term before we get some kind of bullish reversal. Basically, what I want to say though, overall, I definitely think a bullish reversal is coming soon. And when I say soon, I mean within the next few weeks. I think it's not going to happen like within a day or two. I think this has to take some time to play out. Very important to look at there as well. One thing people might be pointing out is this. I don't really think this looks very good, but in terms of like the structure, it doesn't look like it makes a lot of sense, but people might be seeing something like this if we do get a pushback here then. Okay, so let me actually illustrate that better. Let me zoom out so you guys can see a little bit. So maybe like a shoulder here, they might be pointing this as the head, and then this is another shoulder, and a regular head and shoulder, and then another push down. Again, the only reason I would think maybe that doesn't look very valid is because these shoulders are just so much smaller than this head, and that's not usually how they form. For example, you guys can see this. You can see shoulder, head, shoulder. For the most part, these shoulders were about half the length as the head. For this, the head would be about like 3 to 4 times as big as the shoulder. So again, I don't necessarily think that looks very realistic there. If it would, I think the downside target would actually be right around that 75. It actually pushes down to about here, if that would be a target. Again, that's something I'm looking at, but not really too confident that that's going to play out. For the most part, I think there are a lot more important patterns and a lot more other things that are on the charts right now other than that. But if we did get a push down to that 84, maybe even going to that 82 finally, then again, that would be interesting. If it played out immediately, then again, that would make this pattern even uglier. But if it did take a few days to get down here, that would, I know for a fact, a lot of people would be tweeting this out or making videos on this. So that might be a thing people are really going to be eyeing up. But again, it's very uneven, a very ugly pattern. But again, sometimes ugly patterns can play out. And to just illustrate that for you again, you can kind of see how ugly that would be on this chart, actually. This is a really good illustration of this. You can see it would look something like this. I mean, look how massive that head would be. It just does not really look like what a head and shoulders typically is. But again, I'm curious to see what happens here. But again, we could even find some support right here at this 87, 88, because we have the 200-day moving average right there, and that's really important. We're going to get squeezed in between this 200 and this 50-day moving average, okay, something like this. So it should be interesting to see over the next few days how that plays out as well. Lowest target, let's say we did have something like this play out. Lowest target we could really go and remain pretty bullish, getting down to this 75, 78, okay, in between that area. Would not want to go, would not want to spend a lot of time there. We would need an immediate bounce, and for that to happen, we would need to see some very strong volume there if that did in fact happen. We get some momentum actually pushing up here. I don't know. I think this actually could go either way at this point, but I'm mainly leaning towards some short-term downside, you guys. So mainly the main thing I'm leaning towards, probably like 60 to 70%. I'm leaning right now towards some continued short-term downside. Okay. For an upside target, again, I think that 10,000 obviously is going to be the huge area right here. It's going to be, by the time this gets up here, right around the top of this channel here. And for a million other reasons why 10,000 is probably going to be significant support there as well. So guys, thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much everyone as well for buying the course, guys. We have so much, so excited. We're so excited to add like 30 more minutes yesterday. We're going to be adding more just in the next coming few days, and we want to have this thing packed with, 10, 15 hours worth of TA stuff, okay? So the price most likely will increase in the future as we add more and more content. So again, 50% off Goo Gurt, okay? Going to be the best deal of a lifetime.